If you're watching this video without going to see the movie first, you're on crack and I'm gonna time you for that. Do yourself a favor and go watch the movie, instead of getting spoiled by a random guy on YouTube. You have been warned. Back in 2018, Marvel and Sony came out with one of the best comic book animated movies out there, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. When this movie first came out, I was blown away by the animation. And if you know me, I love animation. Especially how this film was made, by combining 3D animation with a comic book style. At the same time, by doing this, it allowed the movie to have a fresh new look, and also expanding the possibility of making animated films in the future. So when you have a film like that, it's kinda hard to make a sequel to it, especially one that can live up to its predecessor. And also, Sony has a bad record of producing, bad sequels for movies, especially for Spider-Man. Like for example, when they made Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, that was a decent film, very enjoyable, but they ruined it by releasing Amazing Spider-Man 2. Which is sad because I really liked the suit in that movie. It's one of the best looking suits. Or when they made an incredible Spider-Man 2 film. Mwah! What a great film. Then they followed it up with a terrible Spider-Man 3. That movie was chaos. And the funny thing, as a kid, I loved that movie. The villains, Green Goblin, Harry, the black suit, Venom. But rewatching it as an adult, yeah, that film was not a good movie at all. There was too much going on. So saying that I was nervous for the new sequel would be a hell of an understatement. So, we're finally here, June 2023, and now, it's safe to say that I was worried for no reason. After 5 years, one of the best animated films out there now has a sequel that can rival it. In fact, I think it's way better than the first one. Yeah, I said it. Come at me, bro. I don't care. I'll take anybody on. So this film picks up a year after the first film, with Gwen Stacy finding it hard to make friends, and at the same time trying to keep her identity from her father. And I also love her universe as well. It has a nice aesthetic to it. It definitely has like a water painting style to it, especially how the colors blend in with each other. So in the first film, we didn't get to see Gwen's backstory that much. The only thing we got from that movie was some glimpses of what happened with her Peter Parker. But in this film, we got to see what happened to him, and it was pretty sad. The only reason why he took that serum is because he wanted to be strong. He wanted to be special, but I had no idea he was going to be the Lizard. When I saw that green vial, the first thing that pops to mind is the Green Goblin. That's what I thought at first, but it was pretty surprising. But then again, I think in the comics it's like that as well. I don't read the comics for Gwen, but I probably should though. They're probably way better right now what Marvel's doing with Spider-Man. No, like for real, what is this? I don't even know what that is. That's crazy. But look, the only thing I know is that F Paul. All my homies hate Paul. We are preying on his downfall. I'm being for real. So later on in the movie, Gwen has to fight this vulture from a different dimension. And I'm not gonna lie to you, but she gets her ass handed to her, man. She has to be saved at the last second by Miguel and Jessica Drew. And look, I love Jessica Drew, but honestly, if we're being serious, you can take her out the film and you'll pretty much get the same film. Sadly, her character was just there to be there. And also, she's pregnant too. I don't understand why they did that. Makes no difference. So after the fight, Gwen ends up getting recruited. I low-key forgot the name, but I don't care. We're gonna call it the Secret Society of Spiders. Or you know what? HQ. Yeah, we're gonna keep it simple. But she's recruited, mostly out of pity. After her dad found out she was Spider-Woman, she had nowhere else to go. So it was either take her with you, or leaving her there to get arrested. So she leaves with them, and now she's a part of the team. So after that, the story takes place back in Miles' universe. And that's when we're first introduced to Spot. Now at that current time, the only thing I knew about Spot was that he was like a joke character. So basically like a low tier villain. And when you first see him, that's basically how he comes across. You see, back in the first movie, when Miles blew up that machine, this dude was caught in the blast, making him into a portal person? Yeah, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. Basically, Miles ruined this dude's life. And now he's dedicated to doing the same thing to Miles by getting as much power as possible and taking anything he ever loved. And honestly, dude, I don't blame him. I can kind of relate. Not like, bro, like think about it. He threw a bagel at his head. That's disrespectful. You can't let that shit slide, man. They're gonna think you're sweet out here. But after dealing with Spot and fighting criminals around the city, this causes Miles to be late to a lot of important events. And after being late to his father's party, well, that was the last straw. As Miles is grounded in his room, That's where Gwen appears through a portal. So they start swimming around the city catching up on life. But as they're doing it, it becomes clear to the viewer that Gwen is actually there to do a lot more than just catching up. During the party on the roof, Mile asks why he's not part of the team yet. You know, the whole Spider Society thing. But Gwen tells him that it's kind of hard to get in, that he has to be selected. And that pretty much leaves them disappointed. But out of nowhere, Gwen gets a notification on her watch. So she has to leave. And when she does leave, we get one of the best scenes out of this movie, involving Miles and his mom. You see, Miles' mom knows very well that her child is growing up. And that eventually, you know, he has to spread his wings. But still, knowing that fact, she's not going to stop worrying. You know, that's what moms do. They care for us. And that's why I found this part of the story so relatable. It really connected with me on a really personal level. Because at the end of the day, we Latinos, we stick together, man. We care for our own. That's how we are. So knowing that all she asks her son is to basically remember where he came from. And don't let anybody tell him he doesn't belong anywhere. Now that's a good scene. Very beautiful. Later on, Mile ends up catching up with Gwen, and he ends up following her through the portal. You see, Gwen had a certain task, and that task was basically keeping an eye on Spot, but obviously she wasn't doing it. So basically now she has to chase this dude around. So you know, it's tough. So when we jump through the portal, we end up in a whole different dimension, and this is where we meet the Indian Spider-Man. Now this dude, he's hilarious. One of my favorite characters from this movie. He's funny, he's charming, and his suit looks so awesome. Definitely way better than his old suit. Look at that. That looks trash. But this looks so fire. But the one character I was very excited to see was Spider-Punk. This guy Hobie, he's the GOAT. There's no other way to describe him. I love the way he talks. I love the way he looks. I love his art style. He hates the PM and the AM. He hates being consistent. Bro, he's so cool, man. I swear to God. Like, no joke, he's one of the best characters in this movie. He even taught Miles how to better use his powers. Like, this dude is so awesome. So now it's up to these 4 Spider-Man and woman. Can't forget that. Well, we're too early in the movie, so you know that didn't happen. Obviously. Plot. So Spot ends up powering up by using the collider. I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure. But before he leaves, he shows Miles visions of what he's going to do to his dad. And as he's leaving, the building that we're in starts falling apart. So now it's up to the 4 Spider-Men to save everybody. And they do a pretty good job at keeping everybody safe. And luckily, Miles was able to save the police captain at the last second. But apparently when he did that, he broke the cannon. Now this is going to come into play later on. So after that whole event, Miles gets invited back to HQ. And he's very excited. Oh man, if only he knew, right? If only he knew. So at HQ, we see a whole bunch of different Spider-Mans for different universes. We have Ben Reilly. We have the PS4 Spider-Man. We get a car Peter Parker. That's hilarious. And at the same time, bro, we get Spectacular Spider-Man. This dude was my whole childhood. I'm still mad we didn't get a 3rd season, man. So when we meet Miguel, we find out that all the Spider-Mans from different universes are all connected to each other. Like webs being bind together. I don't know how he explained it. Basically, they're connected like strings. You get the point. You see, every Spider-Man there has a certain event that has to happen to them, no matter what. And that event is called the canon. And when that event is interfered by some, outside force, like Miles or something else, it can cause that whole universe to just disappear. So that's not a good thing. And the worst part is that a lot of these canon events basically involve somebody dying. That's tough. What's even crazier is that most of the time, it involves a certain captain dying. That's tough. When you really think about it, that means there are certain people that are just meant to die. Like you're born just to die at a certain point. Like imagine dying for somebody else's personal growth. I'll be heated. So after Miles finds out that his dad is gonna die, and also getting betrayed at the same time, he tries to escape. And this is where we get one of the coolest scenes ever. So every Spider-Man in that HQ is after Miles, and we get to see a lot more Spider-Man too, like a T-Rex, a spider monkey. There was a plushie, a little Spider-Man plushie that I completely missed. But he was there and he looks adorable. Overall, that whole sequence was amazing, funny, and hilarious. 10 out of 10. But eventually when Miguel catches Miles, he goes a little too hard on him, bro. Like he low-key sounded like low tier god. If you guys don't know who he is, bro, like search him up. That's what he sounded like. He basically tells him that he was never meant to be Spider-Man, that he was a mistake, the anomaly, basically the complete opposite of what his mom told him. He also finds out that Peter B and Gwen betrayed him. They basically knew the whole thing and didn't tell him. Now that is tough. But we find out that Miles had a plan this whole time. You see, Miles' plan was to basically run away and lead everybody in HQ as far away from it as possible. And he barely got away with it too, because Miguel was on his butt. Even worse, the machine that he used to go back home takes him to a whole different universe. It takes him to universe 42. Where the spider that bit him came from. And that's sad as hell, because he had a whole conversation with his mom that's like very wholesome, and he also revealed the fact that he's Spider-Man. All that, and it doesn't even matter, because it's not his mom at all. That's tough. And come to find out, his dad is already dead, at least in this universe. Also, there's no Spider-Man. Uncle Aaron is still alive. And we find out that Miles from this universe is a Prowler. Talk about some plot twists, huh? And that's how it ends. Overall, this movie was amazing. In my opinion, it's better than the first one. We do have to wait another year for part 3, but it's not that long. Comparing it with part 2, come on bro, a year is not that long. And my guess why it took 5 years for the second one to release is that one, animation is very hard to do, especially on this level. Like the animation in this movie was amazing, top class. Like, did you know that Spider-Punk animation took a whole year to make? A whole year for like, I don't know, 15-second clip. That's how long it takes to do animation. And the second reason why I think it took so long was because I think they wanted both films to release close to each other. That way you don't have to wait that long to see what happens. Honestly, I'm gonna go watch it again. I already went 2 times. I don't mind going for a 3rd time. Anyways, I'm finna skedaddle. See y'all next time.